So we are at the two dots on Kuf Yud Daled Amud Aleph. This is really a little bit of a continuation, but just a riot from the previous Gemara. Itmar, Kinyan, Ad Emasai Chayzer. When someone makes a chalipin to make a kinyan, where someone is selling a piece of karka from one person to another, or whatever it is they're selling, something that can be nicked with chlippin. I don't know if it's necessarily karka. The Gemara is assuming that when a person makes a kinyan, and he uses a kinyan chlippin as the kinyan, he retains for himself, the person who's being makna, who's conveying ownership of an object, retains for himself the ability to change his mind for a certain amount of time. And the Gemara is asking a shaila, what is the end point at which he no longer is able to change his mind and say, you know what, I changed my mind, I don't want to give you this vase. Rabba Amar Kol Zman Sheyoshvin. Rabba says, as long as they're sitting in this conference where Reuven is selling, for example, something to Shimon, and he did a kinyan chlippin to give it to Shimon, as long as the conference is still in session, Reuven can say, you know what, I changed my mind, I want my vase back. Rav Yosef says, no, even if they're still in the same conference, if they already moved on to a different order of business, they're schmoozing, the sale is over, now they're schmoozing about their Hamoed plans, where they're going for their trip. At that point, Reuven's ability to be chayzer on the kinyan is over. Amr of Yosef, Kavasi Didi Mistaber. Yosef says, I think I can prove that I'm right. That you don't have, it's not still within the rights of Reuven to be chayzer as long as the conference is going on, as long as the meeting is still going on. It's over as soon as they move on to a different topic. The Amr of Yehuda, and this now we're hearkening back to the previous Gemara. 3 people who came to be Mavakar Chayla, and then the Chayla said, once you're here, I want to do a kinyan of a shchiv meira. I'm about to die, and before I die, I want to give over things. And as we've seen a number of times throughout Shas, there's a special ability to be makna something when someone is a shchiv meira. When someone's on his deathbed, you don't have to go through the normal channels. You could even just make a decision to be kind of. So he said in that case, if there are 3 people there, Ratzu Kaisvin, if they want, they could write it up as a star, and then next they bring it to a Bezdin, and the Bezdin will execute the Matna Shchemira, Ratzu Oisin Din. Or if they want, they could themselves be the Bezdin. They say, listen, we already know what's going on because we saw that you handed over, that the Shchemira, the man on his deathbed, said he wants to hand it over. So we're going to be the ones to be the Bezdin, and we're going to already execute, and it's going to already belong to Shimon. So as Rabbi Yosef says, if you're going to say that as long as they're still in the same meeting, that the person who's being makna something can retract and say, you know, I changed my mind. How can this Bezdin, while they're still sitting in front of the Shchiv Meira, say it's finalized, and now this vase that was nicknamed with a kinyan chlippin by the Shchiv Meira now belongs to Shimon? Maybe Reuven is going to change his mind, and he has the right to change his mind as long as they're still sitting there. And we're saying that they're going to finalize the kinyan while they're sitting in front of him. So l'chayr, it must be like I said, that as soon as they change the subject, then it's over. That's Rabbi Yosef's time. Amar Ravashi, Amrisa l'shmaitza kamei Rav Kahana. I said this over Rav Yosef's raya, and he said to me, Rav Yosef minicha, why is it better according to Rav Yosef? Why by Rabbi Yosef aren't we worried that he's also going to be chayzer? He says that it's, Rabbi Yosef says, as long as they're talking about the same inyan, but maybe he'll be chayzer while they're still talking about the same inyan. Elamaisach lamema disalka minyana linyana. That they're going to switch topics, and that way, that means this Bezdin, they're going to hear the person who's dying, they're going to hear his intention to be makna something, and then they'll talk about their like we said, their Chol trip for a little bit, and then they'll act at the Bezdin to execute it, because at that point it's too late for him to be Chayzer. So Gemara says, "Hachanami the kama v'hadu yasivu." So why can't you say the same thing according to Rabbah, who said that they could be Chayzer, that he could be Chayzer up until he leaves the room? So maybe they'll also leave the room. The three guests who now want to be Dayanim, they won't just change the subject, they'll go out of the room and continue. So the Gemara says, while it's true, even though you're saying a taina, why that it could be talking about, it must be talking about according to Rabbi Yosef that they change the topic, it's easier to understand that they make the final decision after they change the topic than to say that they have to leave the room, go away, and come back, and then they could. But there was no mention of them leaving. So saying that that's what we're talking about, the case that they could be a bezin is only when they left, is a little more shaver than saying that they just changed the topic. That's more reasonable. So therefore, Hilchos Kavos Rabbi Yosef, and we say in a few other things. Besada, we talked earlier about. Rashi says on the Rashbam says on Daf Yud Beis, where Nichsei Deber Barman was talking about the din of if someone has a field next to his field, if who is whether someone who is getting Yerusha has a right to say that I get the din of Deber Metzra on it. An Inyan, which is what we were just saying, that Rabbi Yosef says that a person could be chayzer until they change the subject. Umerza. And this is later on Misha Meis, where someone said, I'm giving menachosim to you and to your son. So we said in the Mishnah, if you remember, we had a bunch of different categories. We said, first of all, there are those who both are noichel umanchilan. They both receive an inheritance, and that relationship also lets them give an inheritance. So we said a son and a father is an example of that. Then the Mishnah continued on and said there are those who can receive an inheritance but not give an inheritance, and there are those who can give an inheritance and not receive. I'm not sure if that's the order. And we give the example for both of those. We give two of the examples we give are Isha, like we said, like the Gemara says, Isha Espinah, a woman to her son and a woman to her husband. That a woman, a son yarshins his mother, and a husband yarshins his wife, but it's not the other way around. So we said in the case of Noichlen ve'ein manchilin, and we say also in the case of manchilin ve'ein noichlen, we say both sides, that a husband, a isha espinah, and an isha to her husband, she gives a Yerusha, but she doesn't get. And then the Mishnah also says the other way around. A husband to his wife gets a Yerusha, but he doesn't give, and a son to his mother, he gets a Yerusha from her, but he doesn't give. The Gemara, Hasul Lamli. What do you have to say both directions? It's the exact same din, just being described. One time we call it Manchilin ve'in Noichlen, another time we call it Noichlen ve'in Manchilin, but it's really the same exact relationship. And we're saying the exact same din, just from a different perspective. So Gemara asks, what do we have to say? That a man to his mother and a man to his wife, he accepts the Yerusha, but he doesn't give a Yerusha. So what do you have to say it over twice? And for the Gemara, it's the Aleph. Amr of Sheshis, Hakamash Malon, the Isha es Beno, Dumya the Isha es Baila. We want to we add an extra case in the Mishnah to tell you that there's a comparison between the inheritance that an Isha gives to her son than to that which an Isha gives to her husband. Ma Isha es Baila. Ein habal yoretz es ishte bekever. Just like, as we saw earlier, the din, generally the rule is that someone who yarshins, if the person who has the right to inherit is no longer alive, whoever his descendants are take his place. They slot into his space. They get whatever kayach he had. But that's not the case by a mother. I'm sorry, that's not the case with a wife and a husband. that which a husband can yashin from his wife.
It's only b'motzei.
I'm sorry, you're right. That means he doesn't get what she gets after she dies. It's only what she has b'muchsuk, what she actually has when she dies, but not something that she would be entitled to if she were alive. A husband is not entitled to that. So the isha is bekever. He's not yerisher on beroi, only b'muchsuk. Af isha espena. Similarly, that which a son yashins from his mother, ein haben yerishes imay bekever lahanchel la'achem inav. This is slightly different, but it's the same concept that the son, if he is not alive and he has brothers mina'av, right? The only brothers that are relevant legabe Yerusha are brothers mina'av. So these brothers are not this son who's dead now. They're not his. They don't have the same mother, so they don't yarshin directly from her, but they are his brothers, so they have the ability to yarshin from him. We don't say that if he was already dead and now his mother dies, that his brothers get it. Rather, it will go to the mother's father, or will go to some other Yerush of the mother, but it won't go through the dead son. So that's the comparison. That's why we have both Isha Espina and Isha Esbaila. Amr of Yechel Mishum Yehuda Bereshim. Dvar Torah Ha'av Yerush Espinoi Midaraisa. A father yarshins his son, right? We know that it goes. That's the first din in our Mishnah, that a father, the normal case is a father gives to his son, but a father also yarshins his son if there's no one, if the son has no descendants, then it goes up to the father. The Isha Yereshes Espina. But he says, in addition to that, midaraisa, an Isha yarshins from her son. Not like what we saw. The Gemara is going to ask from our Mishnah. That it's not like our Mishnah, but this is the Shita Rav Yehuda Bar Shimon, that the din of Yerusha goes both ways by a mother and her son. Not only does the son yarshin from his mother, but the mother also yarshins his son. Where do we learn that out? He says it's a pasuk. There's a limit for that. Sheneva matais. The Torah said, if you remember all the way back when we're talking about Hasava, we're talking about the rule that at the time of the Yerusha Sa'aretz, of the inheritance, when they divided up the Eretz Yisrael, we said that a woman can't marry into another Shevet, and we said that's talking about a woman who has a Yerusha both from her father and from her mother. And we said Mates. Said that's we learned that because it said matas, which is mashma lashon rabim, from two separate matas, and we say makesh mata aim lamata av, and we use that as a hekesh. Ma mata av yerishes b'noi av mata aim isha yereshes b'no. According to Rabbi Yehuda Bar Shimon, this is a new lim, but not like what we've seen until this point. That we say he will hold that midaraisa. The Torah says that a mother yarshins her son. Eis Rabbi Yehuda Bar Shimon. He asked from our Mishnah. Our Mishnah said, "Isha espena, v'isha esbaila, v'achia ein manchilin." A woman to her son, which is the first case that we discussed, and then we say two others. The din is manchilin v'noyechlin. She gives a Yerusha, v'loyechlin, but she doesn't receive a Yerusha. So our Mishnah is saying precisely the opposite of Rabbi Yehuda Bar Shimon Shita, saying that it's a one-way street. A mother can give a Yerusha to her son, but the son does not give a Yerusha to his mother. Amalei, so Yehuda Bar Shimon answered back to Rabbi Yochanan, Mishnah Seinu in Yedei Mishana. I don't know, the Mishnah is a different Shita. I heard this from Matana. This Mishnah must be a different Tana. I don't know who's saying it. So why didn't Rabbi Yochanan answer that this Mishnah that says that a person cannot be Yerush from a mother, from a son to the mother, that's going according to Rabbi Chaim ben Akatzav. The loy darish matas that we had back on Daf Kuf Yed Aleph, when we were talking about the din, the pasuk says that a daughter yarshins. We said that a daughter yarshins from her mother, and we said, how do you know a brother as well? So we said you learn out from a Kal V'chaimer, and Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Shimon ben Akatov said it's a daya. You can't if you're saying that the brother is learned out from his sister, the sister yarshins his mother, so the brother also does. So then that means that they have to both be equal, because the koyach of the brother cannot be more than the sister who you learn it out from. So he said, doesn't everyone agree with daya? So Gemara says, no, we learn out from mates. We make a hekesh to tell you that just like a son always goes before a daughter legabe Yerusha, in the case of Yerusha from a mother, it will also be the son will have precedence. But Rabbi Chaim ben Akatzav did not agree with that. If you remember, that was a very big chiddush, and people said there's all kinds of calumnies heaped upon those who try to paskin like Rabbi Chaim ben Akatzav. But the reason for Rabbi Chaim ben Akatzav shita was because he doesn't darshan matis like the other madam. So why don't we say that our Mishnah holds you darshan matis, and that's the reason why we say that. Why don't we say our Mishnah that doesn't darshan matis to say that a son will be Meirish to his mother, because he does. It's going like Rosh Chaim ben Akatzav, who doesn't darshan matis, and that's why he doesn't learn it. So no. We can't say the Mishnah like Rosh Chaim ben Akatzav, Diktani, because of a different thing that it says in the Mishnah. We said the sons of a daughter, of a sister. I'm sorry. We said the Mishnah lists that I don't know if this Mishnah, we're going to see later on, the Mishnah will list that a brother also is in the Seder of Yerusha, right? This the typical Seder of Yerusha that we talk about, which we're going to see in the next Mishnah, is that first a son yarshins, and a sister yarshins next, the son has Kedima. Then after that comes, obviously, if they have any descendants, those will will take their place. And following that is the father. And following the father is the brother of the mace, which is the son of the father, and a sister of the father will also be included, because she's just like a daughter yarshins. So a sister, which is a daughter of the father, who's the brother of the mace, is yarshin mikayach his father. So his sister will also yarshin. So we said b'nei achos, the sons of that sister, will also have a right to yarshin. So we said in our Mishnah b'nei achos, Tana b'nei achos, v'loy b'nei achos. We say it talks about b'nei achos, the sons of a sister, but not the daughters of a sister. Varmin l'may hilchasa. And we said legabi, what is that halacha? Rav Sheshes lekadam. Rav Sheshes says it's legabi the din that the sons of a sister go before the daughters of a sister. We said that they're both equal. Legabi, the children of a sister, she's coming out aim, right? They're yarshening out their mother, and he says that they're equal because he doesn't darshan matis. But our Mishnah, this brisa explains our Mishnah that it's saying that the son does have kedima, which is that same original din from Kuf Yud Aleph of Rabbi Chaim. That's opposite the din that Rabbi Chaim ben Akatzav said originally. So therefore, our Mishnah, that's the reason why we couldn't say our Mishnah is Rabbi Chaim ben Akatzav. Frak the Gemara, v'tadami manavshach. So then what's pshat in our Mishnah? Idarish matas ishanami tirish espino. If our Mishnah darshans matas, then why did we say that he's paskening not like Rav Shimon, Rabbi Yehuda Rav Shimon, who says that a mother yarshans her son, according to If you darshan matas, you should say the hekesh to teach you that as well. That a mother yarshans from her son. If loy darish matas, ben de kain bas minole, then he should paskin like Reb Chai ben Akotza. So Gemara lo olam darish matas.
Not like it was a fire when it got to. Like Rav Sheshes.
No, legabi the din of a bas that we said that the Brisa explained at our Mishnah that the son has kadima to a bas, which is not like Rav Chai ben Akotza.
That's like Rav Sheshes, not like Rav.
So, right, but we're saying Eloi darish matas. The reason for Rabbi Chai ben Akotza is that he doesn't darshan matas to tell you that the son goes ahead of.
But how do we know, like our Mishnah, that the son comes first?
So right. Zok to Gemara, lo'olam darish matas. He taka darshans matas, and therefore he doesn't say like Rabbi Chai ben Akotza, and that's why we say that the son has kadima. B'shani hacha. Then why do we say that the son is not meirish to his mother in our Mishnah? We have a drasha to tell you that a daughter, a woman only yarshans from her father or her mother, but she's not meirish to her. She doesn't get a Yerusha. She doesn't give a Yerusha. I'm sorry, she doesn't get a Yerusha from her son. So now the Mishnah. You know what? How much did we cover? We did a blot and a half? Okay. So we'll stop over here.
She says not Yereshes, meaning she doesn't bequeath to her son?
Right. No, she did. A daughter can inherit from her mother, but she won't go upwards. That which is the original question. Can a parent get from a daughter? We said the daughter can yashim from her mother, but the question is, this is the original machlokes that we brought, whether that Rav Shimon ben Yehuda was mechadish, unlike what we saw in our Mishnah, that a daughter or or a son could go upward, can yarshin upwards to his mother. So saying, but this Yeresh it doesn't make sense whether it's a son or a daughter. The point is, a mother cannot yarshin from her child. In this case, we're talking about a bas, but this will be the same thing with the son. And we're saying not like we have a pasuk, and that's why it's not because we don't hold of matis, which would say that you do, but because we have a pasuk to exclude, in spite of the fact that we have a pasuk of matis, which would say that a child could be Yerush up to his mother, or her mother, as the case may be.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
Okay.
What time tomorrow?
It wasn't. We were actually pretty short. We went quick.